I've been on the carnivore diet for a little over a year now, and it has massively improved my life. I've been able to build muscle, feel healthy again, and the topic of today's video, get lean. And I want to share this because the carnivore diet has made getting lean for me easier than absolute ever. Before I had to meticulously track my calories to possibly, maybe lose some fat. But I've been able to now just kind of wing it a little bit, and I've still been dropping body fat, still been feeling amazing, and I don't have the same sort of symptoms that a lot of these like bodybuilders talk about whenever they're on a cut. Oh, I'm so hungry. Oh, my energy is so low. Oh, blah, blah, blah. And no, I'm not into like the dangerously low body fats that bodybuilders get into whenever they're like that. But those are things people experience even whenever they're cutting down to begin with. But I think that's for a couple of different reasons, not the fact that you're eating slightly less food. I don't think that's the case. I think it's because of the food that you are eating is messing with your satiety, it's messing with your energy. That is why you are being messed up. But more on that later. If you don't know me, my name is Keegan. I help people get onto low carb / carnivore and improve their health and fitness with it. And so today we're just going to go over kind of how I went about my fat loss phase and how I'm kind of going about it now with carnivore, how you can do that as well. And yeah, that sort of thing. So let's start things off. I think carnivore is ideal for fat loss because for me, it's just absolutely crushed my hunger signals. Whenever you're on a ketogenic carnivore diet, meaning you're having enough fat in your diet, not just protein, you will be in a state of ketosis. And I'm very sure that ketosis has been shown to decrease the appetite of people and decrease the amount of food that they eat just in general. So you get a win on that to begin with. You're literally going to be compelled to eat less food. But why is that? It's because carbs compel you to eat more food. That's literally what they do in your body. And this is through a couple of mechanisms, right? It's like, one, if it's a sugar, it's going to be sort of addictive because sugar is a drug. This is going to say it straight out for what it is. Sugar is a drug, lights up your dopamine centers, makes you addicted, okay? So if it's any sort of like fast sugar or whatever, like a fruit or, like candy or whatever, it's going to be more likely to be addictive, more likely for you to start developing a compulsion to eat more of it than you should. And even if you are restricting yourself, even if you're eating less calories, you're still going to be extra hungry. And that's just no bueno. Okay, you're going to be extra hungry. The second part of how the sugar or the carbs can mess with you is you can get something called reactive hypoglycemia, which basically means that your blood sugar is going to go up after you eat it. I mean, obviously, because you just ate carbs, you ate sugar. It all breaks down into sugar in your bloodstream, anyways. And then your insulin is going to spike along with that and crush it down because your body doesn't want high blood sugar. And so it's going to crush it down, push the glucose into your muscles and anywhere that it can, just get it out of the bloodstream. And it might do that too well. And so it's going to push it past where you need to be. And since your brain, it either relies on glucose or ketones for the most part, and if you're eating a bunch of carbohydrates, you're not going to be producing a ton of ketones, and so your brain's going to just use what it has in the blood. But whenever your blood starts dipping down because your glucose is crashing because your insulin works relatively well, then your brain's going to start losing fuel because you're not making ketones, or that many anyways, and you're getting rid of the glucose, which is kind of the two more main energy systems that the brain uses. So you're just like fucking your brain basically. And so your brain's going to be like, hey, I need energy. Give me something quick to eat now so I don't die. And that's another form of hunger signaling that your brain's going to send out, being like, hey, I need food right now. Otherwise, we're not going to be looking so hot. So those are a couple ways that carbs, just in general, make you want to eat more. And that's why eating in a ketogenic carnivore diet specifically, in my opinion, would be more ideal in terms of cutting. Like just that alone, like you just feel less hungry. But let's move on to a couple of other things. The second is you just feel you actually have energy. So like I was saying, you if you eat enough fat, you're gonna be in a ketogenic state, and you're gonna have the energy to move around. You're gonna have the energy to get in your daily activity that supports fat loss. Get in your workout, so your workouts aren't as flat. Some people will say, "Oh, but without carbs, you can't feel your workout." This bullshit, bro. You can feel your workout with ketones. Okay, there's actually a couple of companies coming out with like exogenous ketone drinks for this exact reason, because ketones are a very good source of energy that your body uses very efficiently if you're adapted to it. So, and you get adapted to it by eating in this sort of manner. It just takes a little bit because so many people have been eating carbs for most of their life. It took me a little bit to get adapted, but now that I'm adapted, it's super easy. Anyways, your body gets fueled by ketones and fatty acids, right? There's literally just more energy available to you if you're using your fat as fuel, which just literally imagine this, right? Imagine you're a truck driver, right? And you're driving down the highway, and then your truck runs out of gas, right? You probably have seen those semis where they have the big kind of tanks on the side, right? Of the side of the truck itself, right? But the truck is pulling a huge tank of gas. Why can't it just take from that? That's how our bodies are with carbs. Is we use like the I guess I mean they're pretty big, but the smaller tanks on the side of the truck, that's with carbs. And without carbs, we're using the whole thing. We're using the back, the back tank, the humongous tank that's being pulled by the semi, along with the smaller ones as well. So we have the huge reservoir, but we're pulling that weight anyways. We may as well use it. And so that's kind of what our body fat is it's this huge reservoir of energy that we can use if we're in a fat burning state. And that's why I would say that your energy would be higher in a state of ketosis, on a ketogenic carnivore diet, whenever you're on a sort of cut. Another reason why I think the carnivore diet is really ideal is just because protein is super, super easy. Like you don't really have to worry about protein on a carnivore diet because it's like you're just eating meat and eggs. Like it's super simple. I can mess around, eat like one meal a day, not even get in all the calories I need for the day, and probably still hit the protein goal that I need. Most people, you actually don't need as much protein as some people say. You only really need around 0.81 grams per pound of body weight for one, like optimal muscle growth, and I believe muscle retention as well. Now you can bump that up to like 1 gram per pound if you want. I go somewhere around there roughly, and yeah. But like whenever you're eating meat and eggs and just animal products in general, hitting your protein goal is so easy. It's basically impossible not to do. Like you'd have to be eating either almost pure fat to do that, or you'd have to be really avoiding the leaner cuts and just be eating like freaking 9% lean ground beef or something, dude. Like in order to not hit your protein goal on a carnivore diet, you would have to be doing something kind of wrong, in my opinion. But yeah, it's just so easy, right? Like and they're high quality sources of protein too, so you get everything that you need. None of that weird pea protein nonsense where you're getting like 50% of the protein that you're digesting or you're eating anyways. So those are the reasons why I think carnivore kind of makes fat loss a lot easier. I'm going to kind of go into what I'm doing now for my own fat loss phase and what you can take away. Yes, I am tracking calories, okay? That does not mean that I'm necessarily obsessing over it. It's weird anyways because it's not guaranteed. Like you can be eating in a quote-unquote deficit and not lose weight. it's weird because look, I still stand by the fact that thermodynamics still kind of works. Like, if you eat less food, you aren't going to gain that much weight. Like, this, it's very hard to do that. Um, from my understanding, like if you have less food to eat, you're probably not going to be gaining weight. You actually probably will end up losing weight if everything is in the right balance. Now, I think there's validity to both arguments because there's the hormone sort of model of obesity and then there's the caloric model. I think it's somewhere in the middle from there. This my own personal understanding of it and just my own experience. I don't think either or is necessarily right or wrong. It's probably going to be somewhere in the middle. Because yeah, you can lose weight just by tracking your calories if you eat, you know, well, 1,000 calories a day as a dude and it's of Twinkies, you'll probably end up losing weight. However, if you're messing up your hormones to where most of the nutrients that you do consume go to fat, that's not necessarily ideal either. And so the calories that you are consuming, like you're gonna make it harder on yourself by eating a bunch of carbs and a bunch of the junk food, essentially. And so I think both models make sense. So I do track my calories a little bit just to make sure that I'm kind of on track to lose weight and stuff. I like being meticulous about it. Some people, you can kind of do it a little bit more intuitively, perfectly fine. And especially if you're just getting into carnivore, fat loss and weight loss probably shouldn't be your first goal anyways. It should be kind of restoring your health. But like if you want results, I'm going to be just straight up with you. Being meticulous helps. Being really particular about how much you eat, when you eat, all of that stuff, it helps. It helps because what you measure, you can improve. That's just something that is kind of a fundamental law of anything, right? If you want to improve, I'm actually out traveling right now doing some door-to-door sales. For me, I kind of messed up yesterday. I didn't knock on too many doors. I still got a sale though, but it's only one, right? There's some people that I'm with here who are getting like 6, 10 a day, and it's literally just a numbers game, right? I measured it. I only knocked on like 30-ish doors. It wasn't a lot, and I'm kind of disappointed in that. But what I can measure, I can now improve. So today, I'm going to try and knock on 100 doors if I can, and yeah, I mean, like what you measure, you can improve. So if you're overeating food or you're eating too much food, you can track that and be like, okay, I'm going to pull it back just a little bit. Pull it back just a little bit. And it's going to be easier because you're on carnivore, so you won't need to eat as much because you're getting in nutrient dense, high quality food, and you're not going to need to be, snacking or keeping yourself full with fiber or whatever. It's going to be good because it's going to be nutrient dense, it's ketogenic, so you're not going to be hungry. So you can allow yourself to eat less food. That makes sense? But that's why I track my food. I like being meticulous. I like being detailed with what I need to do. And it's helped. There's a reason why people who do track their calories are able to lose weight. Not 100% of the time, but like bodybuilders and stuff like that. Like they have a system down, and I believe there's a reason why it works. Maybe not necessarily exactly for the calories in, calories out side of things, but it allows you to track and see if you're eating less food. But like I said, if you're just getting onto carnivore, weight loss and fat loss probably shouldn't be your first goal. It should be, restoring your health. But if you're healthy, I think it's a good way to start losing fat and start losing weight because you're not going to be hungry. But yeah, that's how I do it in terms of food intake. I guess another add-on to that point is I changed up what I was eating to be a little bit leaner, so it allowed me to have a little bit more food in terms of volume, but less calorically dense, because fat is pretty dense in terms of calories. But it's kind of up to you. You got to make sure you're fat adapted first, though. I've been doing this for, I was doing it for almost a year whenever I started my fat loss phase, And so I was pretty confident. I'm still pretty confident that I started off pretty fat adapted. So make sure you get fat adapted. Um, you know, higher fat in the beginning, and then maybe you can pull it back, get a little bit leaner later on, in terms of the food that you eat. So there's that. Moving on from there, dang dude, that dude was flying. Um, the next is sort of my workouts and my daily activity. What I've been doing is just making sure that I've been getting a little bit over 8K steps a day. Um, that's really it, and just working out as much as I can, to be honest, because I like working out. You don't really have to go crazy in the gym, but just make sure you're stimulating your muscles so you actually hold on to that. Because if you're eating less, your body's going to look to itself to take energy from. And if you're not stimulating your muscles, your body's going to be like, oh, well, this muscle is just kind of here adding extra weight, and we can use it for energy. So it's just going to yoink that away from you. But you don't want that to happen. So stimulate your muscles. Obviously, on carnivore, you're going to be eating enough protein. So if you stimulate your muscles by weight training, that's going to help you not lose them. And if you get around 8K steps a day, it's going to be increasing kind of your daily activity. I'm aiming for around 12K. You don't have to go that high, but 10K steps is actually a really good range for a lot of people. If that's not you and you're at like 2K steps a day, no worries. Just bump it up to like 4K a day or 3K and just go up from there, right? Just do it for a week and then up a week until you're kind of ingrained and you're already at like 8K steps a day. Like you don't really need to go beyond that too much. If you want to, go ahead. I mean, there's nothing really stopping you. But yeah, that's kind of the process that I've been going through right now in terms of workouts, is just weights. I've been doing some cardio, like hopping on the bike, been doing some running. Here now, been doing it less so, but I've still been getting in my steps, still been hitting the gym, and that's really the most important part, is your daily activity, just kind of walking around, and weight training. Other stuff you can add on top of it, but it's really not necessary. The last thing that I forgot to mention is that I've been doing this thing on carnivore specifically, which is kind of new to me. It's something that I've been learning. And I think it's important for you to learn it as well, because if you don't, then whenever you get off the fat loss phase, then you might not really know what you should be doing. Now, that sounds really amorphous, but let me just clarify. Whenever you're eating on carnivore, the advice typically is like you don't need to track, just eat until it stops tasting good. And that is something that you should probably really, really try to listen to whenever you're on a fat loss phase specifically. And just see like, okay, does this meat actually taste good? Does this meat satisfy me? Or is it bland? Do I really not need to eat right now? Because I think that's why a lot of the carnivores say like, oh, you can just lose fat without having to track anything, is because like they'll eat some food, it doesn't taste that good, and then they end up eating one meal a day, and so the total amount of food that they're eating is a little bit lower, and they're fasting, maybe they're getting in their daily activity elsewhere and whatnot, but they're not necessarily eating throughout the day. And I think that's why a lot of carnivores might get the fat loss that they do, is because they're eating like, 1 or 2 meals a day, just because stuff just doesn't taste that good. So it's just something that you can listen to, because I've been working with it myself, and I've found that even whilst I'm on a fat loss phase, like the food just stopped tasting good, and it lines up with my calories. So it's like, oh, okay, well, I literally do not need to eat anymore, and I probably shouldn't, because my calorie goal is here, and I've actually just hit that. Now, that might be some psychological stuff, I don't know, but it's definitely something to look into. I found that, spices, salt, sweeteners, whatever, those things really mess with me personally, especially like even salt. I still can't really taste the difference in foods whenever I salt them, so I tend to not salt my food just so I can actually taste it and see like, okay, am I actually hungry for this now? Because your hunger signals are different on carnivore. It's more of does the meat actually taste rich in its own flavor, or does it taste kind of bland? Because if it tastes kind of bland, then you don't need to eat. You're good. Like just keep on keeping on. Drink some water. If you need salt, salt your water. I would say instead of your food. Um, yeah, that's about it. Just really see how the richness is instead, and see how that goes. But yeah, I think that's it. So that's how I've been putting fat loss on easy mode, just by eating meat. Like, it's so simple, dude. Um, I guess one more thing I can mention is meal prep is super easy because I only have to worry about one type of food. That's it. Um, but beyond that, yeah, I'm kind of just dragging on now. That's how I put losing fat on easy mode, just by eating meat. If you like what I'm saying, just go subscribe. Um, in the works of making a carnivore roadmap. I probably won't link it right now, but if you're watching this in the future and it is linked, you should go check that out. It's a 30-day roadmap, get you through your first 30 days of carnivore. Kind of specific stuff like this and other videos that I might put up, but it's going to be in depth, very specific in order to help you out get through your first 30 days of carnivore and kind of answer all the frequently asked questions and maybe get into a couple niche things as well. So if that sounds like something you're interested in, go check out. Look in the description for links. Click on those things, subscribe, like the video, share, all that stuff. I'll see you in the next one.